Right. So let's talk about this Campfire chat for Season of the Malignant on July 21st. We watched this over on my stream at twitch.tv/Jagged, so make sure you check it out there. You can check it out anywhere else. It's on YouTube. I'll have a link to this page and the hotfix that just came out as well as we talk more into the video. But I do want to just give some of my thoughts. I want to give a breakdown of what has happened and what the devs wanted to go over as well, and some of my thoughts of exactly why they might be making some of these changes and how it impacts myself as a player and how it might be impacting you. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. I do have a few notes that I will talk about, and I'll be bouncing between those notes and some of the information here. So they do want to talk to us about the mission statements here. Now these are things, of course, keep the game fun, have a wide variety of usable builds. If you know anything about corporate organizations, every organization starts a project off with one of these mission statements. And so these are things that they want to have as the game does develop. It is a good thing to have. It's a goal to keep the entire team focused on when you are building into certain philosophies. So these are very, very good things to get a good understanding of. But essentially what it comes down to is they want fun. They want you to have fun. And they want you to be spending money on the game, which is fine. You get something out of it, they get money, everyone wins. It's a fine thing. That's how the world works. This talk about why we release patch 1.1 and what we are trying to achieve. I don't like this verbiage. This is not what you ever want to be saying when you're releasing a patch. Why we release patch 1.1? Well, we patched the game. That's why they released it. I mean, this is... You don't talk about stuff like this. This is not rocket science here. They need to update the game to keep it fresh and entertaining and to get back to their mission statement and their goals, and this is why they released it. So everything they say here, it might add flavor to what the ultimate goal is, but they're going to release patches. That's how all live service games work. That's how this game is going to work. And so what they're trying to win here, or get a win from here, is explaining why they nerfed literally everything in the game with the patch that happened a few days ago. And that's okay. We like that communication. I like to hear what the philosophy might be behind a large sum of nerfs. What I don't like, again, is you never really want to talk about like why you released the patch. I would rather hear about your philosophy during the patch when you released it. There were a couple of developer notes in that patch. Litter it with developer notes. Some people may think it's tacky, but it's way better than putting out an apology video a few days later going, we're sorry, we didn't realize we were nerfing the entire game and giving you literally nothing to replace it with. So there's a couple countering points here. I know some of it sounds like a hypocrite coming from me, but I feel like they are two separate things that can be different from each other here. And I do hope you take some time to look through this, and maybe this will give you a little insight in why they went ahead and did what they did, but we all know it is because they have to update the game to keep us interested. And they thought people were going fast. I don't think people were going too fast. I think the top end was going fast, and it seems like the waters got a little muddy there. They move in to talk about how we are addressing concerns, why, how. Again, more explanation, and again, all of this would have been fine in the patch notes itself, so that we were not left for 2 days speculating about why the entire game got nerfed. I'm going to take a pause from this right here, and we are going to talk about what has happened inside of the video, inside of their chat. So they wanted to let us know their feedback was heard. They looked at Reddit, they looked at Twitter, they got the messages from everyone that was saying we're not really thrilled with the patch that came out. And so their biggest thing was to acknowledge that feedback for us, which is great. It means that they are listening. And I love that. They had an emergency fireside chat. This is fantastic communication. And as they get through about halfway through, they start to talk about this. And it's the way they are delivering this communication is not well. It's not being handled well. Even inside of this fireside chat, they did the same thing they did with the patch. They went on this long explanation about why the game was nerfed, and then right after they said, well, this is we're fixing it. You can't can't explain to me why I have to eat shit and then tell me I don't have to eat shit. You really you can't do that. It doesn't make that gratification at the end any better. It's just like, well, why did you just spend 10 minutes talking to me about why I have to eat this shit? It's not good. It's really not good. But they did agree that it's not the greatest player experience, and that's why they wanted to talk to us today and go into more details here. They said that they were never going to do a patch like this again, and I think what that means is they are not going to release a patch that nerfs everything blanket and gives no other rewards for it. They're not going to take away all of the vulnerable damage and then not give you anything to replace it with. So it looks like a lesson has been learned. That's pretty good. I think that as long as this is upheld, I don't foresee that becoming an issue in the future as long as that's upheld. If it's not upheld, then you could say you learned something, but then you could just turn around and go do it. Everyone has their old habits, so let's hope that that is something that they did actually learn from here. They wanted to set certain standards for future updates. They talked a little bit about that and talking about communicating the changes better. Again, all that I hope is something they learned a lesson from. They have a really, really, really long section about the game being about choice, and it's all branching off into different sections about stuff that they had planned to talk about. And so, I just read in some notes, sorry about that. And so the first thing they touched very briefly, CDR, they felt like it was the most powerful stat, since, you get your 8 skills back instantly. And that they said that they acknowledge it shouldn't have been changed in the exact way because it feels painful because this is fun for the players. But they didn't really touch too much on it. It didn't sound like they're going to be reverting anything large here, but I'm assuming with some tuning it might come back some, or they might just implement some changes in your skills. That's probably what will end up happening, as I don't see itemization changing in a large amount unless they do like an overhaul again like this. Nightmare dungeons they talked about. They're dramatically overtuned. Yes, all those people that were complaining about not being able to do and take their build into things like Nightmare Dungeon 70, 80, 90, 100. Well, apparently they agree with you. And that's fine. I'm a little sad about the change. We got a patch here that came out, which is this hotfix here. We could talk about this now. And it's that the Nightmare Dungeons have been reduced significantly. And they basically turned a level 100 into a level 70. Now, I am both for and against this change. This feels like a nerf bat. This feels like, I was mad that I couldn't clear a Greater Rift 150 in Diablo 3, and I want to be able to do it and tell my friends that I beat the game from like someone on the development team. Because this is a little overkill. I was pushing, 75, 80, 90, 100 with my minion builds, which are on the channel. Make sure you go check them out. Like, comment, subscribe, all the stuff, do all the things. But this is not a video for that. But I was pushing these things with my minion build. The damage was always there. I always had plenty of damage. It seemed like the health was never really a problem as long as you were able to do like about 1 million damage consistently. The HP wasn't really a problem. But the biggest problem was just being obliterated by a minion from off-screen, a corpse roadman, a charger, a teleporting unit teleports on top of you. The monsters become unstoppable and are chasing you down and touch you, and you're just dead splat. Talking over 15,000 armor, the only way to get defense in the game. Over 40% damage reduction on multiple sources, while they're being, shadow damage over time, and you're still getting splat one shot. And it's just, that's where I felt like the problem with these Nightmare Dungeons were. So this change is warranted for sure. I don't know about this one. I could have seen this at a half rate, and it would have been fine. But here's the other thing too. I know I'm about to do exactly what I just criticized the Diablo team for because I only just thought about it, and I'm not. This is a no edit video. This is something that they might have adjusted based on how they have nerfed the entire game. My minion build didn't get basically any nerfs. It got about a 105% increase in damage overall. So that didn't get touched at all. We only lost about, it looked like we lost about 1,500, 2,000 armor based on the multipliers. But I still had like 8,500 base armor. So I don't. This is a 80% damage reduction. So some of the best builds that may come out of this cataclysm, you might call it, will still be able to do these very easily, I believe. But that remains to be seen. This only just happened. I don't even think it's live as the recording of this video. So we will definitely have to test that one and see. But I think we'll be able to do 100 on the minion build quite easily. And they added some things here where, apparently there was a hatred chosen buff against necromancer minions and druids. I'm not sure about that. But this is what happened with the Nightmare Dungeons. Just to quickly go through it, it was just they thought it was dramatically overtuned. They need to lean on very specific builds like Bone Spear or oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank for other builds. Well, Bone Spear was like one of the first ones to do it. And they said they were not happy that it became this like glyph, XP, and loot system. They wanted it to be like kind of a challenging thing. So this is with the nerf and fix that they were going to do. But I'm happy it's going to be doable. We'll see what builds come out on top here, I guess. They touched on sorcerer builds. Patch 1.1.1 in a few weeks are going to buff sorcerers and barbarians. This is where a lot of these notes will come in. I don't really want to talk about them in this video because I want to talk about them when we see that patch. These are all great things to communicate ahead. Thank you so much for that insight. Make sure you read this. I'll drop the links for both these things in the description below. Make sure you check them out if you want to read through those quick updates. But we will be touching on some of these. So they talked about creating balance, accounting for the way the players will feel overall when they make certain changes. So they want to make sure that the changes are happening at the same time. So that's why they are trying to deliver this Nightmare Dungeon as well as the nerfs that we just got. They want to make sure that they're achieving true balance, and if they're not taking the player's fun into account, then that is a failure on their part. They want the meta to be predictable with each season. Again, there's a lot of their core pillars that we really need to talk about. Yeah, that's it for that. They talk about vulnerability damage. I know this might be a big topic for people, but apparently it needs to be changed. I don't care. Like it is one way or another. It's like the CDR thing. You have to pick something to do damage. Whatever, interesting, not interesting. There's always going to be a stat that's like vulnerability in CDR in a game, because if there's not, then you get a very bland, boring, balanced game. And if you really think you want balance all the time, things that are completely balanced are not very interesting, and that is something that you have to take into account. So I'm not going to touch too much on the vulnerability. Again, as they change it, we'll talk more about it. But essentially, they think it's too important. Cool. I think the whole community thinks it's too important as well. And they're working on getting it into the additive bucket, but they have to change a bunch of multiplicative damage and the way the damage calculation formula works before they can do that. They want to focus on updates for the moment-to-moment rather than having it in incremental updates. So they want larger changes over time rather than 5% here, 5% there. This was an interesting one. They didn't realize nerfing XP was going to nerf XP. This is like the comment that Diablo 3 has been out for 10 years, and we learned literally nothing from it, and we couldn't possibly have used any of that foresight to put into this game. So you do what you will with that information. They're going to add some XP buffs at some point. You can see here for World Tier, they're going to buff XP. I'm lost for words for that one. Didn't realize XP nerfs would nerf XP. Go figure. Who would have thought, right? Uber Eats, another okay, what are we doing? Well, they don't want them to be part of builds. They want them to be something with immense power that you could just slap onto any build and it just makes you better. And they didn't intend to have any increase of the amount originally, but they realized that these items basically no longer exist to the majority of the players. They realized the numbers are kind of out there. So yeah, they're going to work towards the future to increase the drop rate by some amount. That amount has not been disclosed. I don't know about that. But what I want to talk briefly about this is they need to really think about what they mean by immense power. Because some of these uniques are like, whatever. You get damage reduction. I think the +4 to all skills is really good for baseline. That's how you get a lot of multiplicative damage later on. So that's pretty fantastic, and you really get to just pick whatever you want. But what I will say is, some of the Uber uniques, they're cool, but there's so many other things that are so much more build defining than a grandfather that it's, sometimes you like, oh, the grandfather is really cool, but I lose like 70% other damage that I need to now be critting for to get, and the builds don't work out. This is coming from the mindset of a summoner necromancer for a really long time, which we will be going to druid, so maybe my opinion will change. But I don't even think they can wear the grandfather. But I digress, right? We take like all the passives in the necromancer tree, so a lot of the uber uniques don't even really matter for me. But I think that it would be really cool to even get one of these per season. So hopefully they drop everything all the way down based on your playtime. They agree that CC is too much for the mobs. Certain mobs are killing too many players and claiming too many lives, and they are going to look at that damage because they're too high damage one-shotting people off screen. The loadouts are going to be looked at, so if you want to like one button to change your entire spec, they're looking into that. Patch 1.1.1 is in a few weeks. You want to look at itemization. I didn't really have too many thoughts about this. I thought the person that asked the question had a very good way of implementing acquiring higher tiers of legendary powers, like the higher end values. Is that if you acquire them, you can put them in the codex. I like that idea a lot, actually. Make them rarer, and then you just, you get the power. We are getting +1 to stash base, yay! But also, wow, +1, woo! They beat around the bush when they talked about the 2-second added to the teleport out of dungeon, and it was like stumble on words, and then, oh, but we added the reset dungeon button. I don't know. I got nothing for that one too. Resistance seemed to be getting fixed on season 2, and they have to migrate the entire damage formula, just like Vulnerable's entire damage formula. So resistances are getting a rework. They're trying to push it up to season 2 instead of season 3. It looks like. More opportunity to fight campaign bosses. More ways to craft and modify gear. All fantastic changes. Those are great things I like to hear about. They're looking into the minions for necromancers and druids, and that's really about it. That's the whole thing. Oh wait, I forgot. They ended the talk about the goblins. I wish that Gillette and the Sire was here, man. I missed that blue guy and his friends and those friends as well. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up here for us. I do hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was a lot of rush through it. I just wanted to get some quick thoughts out, and I want to hop back into playing. So take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!